Biodiversity COP15 Part 2 is finally here. Part 1 was held earlier this year in China, and Part 2 has kicked off here at Le Palais de Congrès in Montreal, Canada. COP15 started on the evening of December 6th with a formal opening ceremony. There are at least 1,800 registrants here participating from across 193 countries. The opening ceremony of the plenary session took place on Wednesday morning. A keynote of the plenary was a statement from Antigua and Barbuda on behalf of small island developing states.
Distinguished delegates, colleagues, ladies and gentlemen, I'm honored to be chairing Working Group 2. With your assistance, I expect us to have very fruitful discussions, and I'm sure I can count on your expertise and your full cooperation so that we may reach meaningful results at the end of our endeavors. As the President emphasized this morning, COP15 and the meetings of the parties to the protocols will be taking place concurrently. Working Group 2 will address the following agenda items. COP15 agenda items 15A, 17, 18, all the way through to 27. And all agenda items under the Cartagena Protocol, as well as all items under the Nagoya Protocol MOP, except for item 13 on the Global Biodiversity Framework and item 14 on digital sequence information on genetic resources, which will be considered by Working Group 1. Upon concluding its work, Working Group 2 will deliver a set of draft decisions to the COP and to the MOPs, to the Cartagena Protocol and to the Nagoya Protocol. Given our extremely heavy agenda, time management will be very important, and I propose that the limited negotiation time which we have should be used to address new or unresolved issues in draft decisions. These include bracketed text and issues that have not yet been addressed by parties at the intergovernmental level. I kindly ask you to avoid general statements, including statements congratulating me or that repeat points previously raised and discussed at a meeting at one of the subsidiary bodies, especially on those issues for which a comprehensive draft decision has already been prepared by these bodies and where parties were in agreement. In accordance with the proposed organization of work contained in document COP15-1 Add 4, for items with many or complex unresolved issues shown by brackets, it is proposed to establish a contact group with a view to preparing a consensus text that can be transmitted to the working group as a CRP. For items with only a few unresolved issues, it is proposed to directly prepare a CRP with informal consultations with parties when necessary. For those items that have not been addressed by a subsidiary body due to time, will be allocated in the session for a first reading. This is the case for a number of agenda items under the two protocols. However, in the interest of advancing discussions on all items, I kindly urge you to keep your interventions brief and to make full use of the facility for uploading the full statements on the meeting website. With regard to the consideration of items under the Cartagena Protocol and the Nagoya Protocol MOPs by the working group, technical measures are in place to distinguish parties from non-parties, requesting the floor on my screen. For items specific to the protocols, priority in speaking order will be given to the parties to the protocols. I wish to also remind delegates that only parties to the respective instruments can be part of the decision-making process. Before we start considering our first item on the agenda, I would like to give the floor to the Secretariat to introduce the compilations of draft decisions for the COP and COP MOPs. Secretariat, you have the floor.